These buyers are driving me crazy. Nobody's listening, no one's paying attention to what's going on, and they're not doing what I ask them to do. If this is familiar to you, that's perfect. We're gonna go over the 7 buyer tips that you can do as an agent to make sure that you have a memorable experience with your buyers. What's going on, everybody? Kyle Powers here with the Motivated Agent at eXp Realty. I do appreciate you guys checking out the channel today. Thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that little bell so you get notified of any future content. Go and give us a like because it helps us grow our channel. If you guys have any specific questions or if you need anything about real estate, eXp related, or anything in between, give me a call. My number is 785-477-5485, or shoot me an email at kyle@homesforsalemhk.com. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Today in this video, we're gonna go over the 7 tips of how you can make your experience with your buyers a memorable one for both them as the buyer and you as the agent, and make it look like you are an all-star. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Number 1 tip on my list. I will tell you this, I will tell you in probably any relationship that you ever want to do, talk to them and listen. Cannot tell you how many times I've had things happen where people, whether it's with my wife, I love her dearly, whether it's with a friend or whether it's with a family member or whether it's with clients, actually listening, not listening to answer, but listen to listen, and writing down and taking notes and making sure that you're paying attention to them and writing those certain things down, that has come back up so many times because they know that you're engaged. They can tell if you're thinking about being somewhere else, drinking beers on a patio or hanging out with your buddies or something like that. People tell that. They can tell how engaged you are in an experience and with that experience with them in general. So number 1, first and foremost, before you ever get into anything else, ask questions and listen. Listen, listen, listen. Do not ask questions to give them an answer. Ask questions so that you listen to them and hear what they're saying. Take notes, write it down. I know that you think your memory is great. I promise you, mine, I tried for that myself, literally bit me in the ass yesterday. Take notes, listen, hear what they have to say, and actually make sure that we are actually paying attention to what they say. Write it down, because I guarantee you, when you come back to them a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, when you go to them and say, hey, I know Johnny's birthday was last weekend, how was that? Or if you text them on Johnny's birthday, they're gonna know and they're gonna say, holy shit, he actually paid attention. She actually listened to me. So do that. Take notes and talk to listen. Don't talk to answer, talk to listen, okay? That's number 1 tip, first and foremost, before anything. Ask questions what they want. It's not about you. I'm sorry, as a real estate agent, it's not about you. I know you want it to be, but you're not. It's not about you. No one gives a shit about you. I'm sorry to curse so many times, that's who I am, but no one cares. No one cares about you. They want to know how you, as an agent, are going to help them as a buyer. So tell them that, show them that. Listen to what they have to say and hear those things about that. Second tip on our list here today is going over the entire process. I have a 2-page document that's 10 items on my list. And what I do is I go over it. I go through the entire sales process. It talks about getting that pre-approval. It talks about signing a buyer agency agreement, looking at houses, negotiating. It talks about everything. And I go over it. They're not gonna remember this. Sometimes the sales process is 2 months, 3 months down the road. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night, let alone something that happened 2 or 3 months down the road. But here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna look at you as an agent and they're gonna say, thank you, holy cow, this guy actually knows what they're doing. Holy cow, this girl is actually paying attention and knowing what's going on and knows what that process is, and then making sure that we are educating them in the entire process. They're not gonna remember, and that's fine. That's what we're here for as the agents, to make sure that we're taking care of them. Making sure that we are taking care of them as their clients, and making sure that we are looking out for them in their best interest. That's how you build trust. Building trust with those clientele and making sure that they know that you've got them. Making sure that they know that you're there in their corner to help fight for them. So giving them that whole process. Again, mine's an easy one. It literally is a 10-page document that I go over, and it talks about, it also talks about inspections. It talks about appraisals. It talks about the final walkthrough. Simple things, but it's all stuff that these buyers, whether it's a first-time buyer or whether it's a fourth-time buyer, it doesn't matter. Things that people usually forget. So making sure you hit those again. And if they say, you know what, I know all that stuff, that's fine. Slide it across the table and don't go over it. Be able to be fluid with the movements and fluid with your buyer agencies and what that looks like. And then making sure that you have all that information because it's there. That doesn't necessarily mean you go line by line, but also knowing the process and making sure you're helping them out in that scenario. Number three tip that I would always go over, I don't know how many times I went over it with new buyers. Because when I first started, I went through a couple of, when I was a little bit younger, I went through a lot of first-time home buyers, which is fine. To this day, I still love first-time home buyers. But here's the thing. I would have them go out and I would tell them, personally tell them to their face, I'd say, hey, don't buy a new truck. Don't buy furniture on credit. Don't buy this. Don't buy this on credit. Don't buy this. Don't start new store credits. Don't consolidate one and do this and do this. I can't tell you how many deals when I first started in a business, I cannot tell you how many deals that I went through and fell apart right at the last moment because they weren't freaking listening to me and they were going out and buying all this new furniture for their new home that they don't own yet. Well, if they're on that credit line and all that stuff, going over that stuff gives them an idea of the do's and don'ts of what they should be doing, trying to make sure that we are keeping them. Again, this isn't for everybody, but I do this because I want to make sure that they know. And I literally, to this day, I still have a form that I literally make them initial it. So that way I know that they went over it. It's simple, it's a little thing, but hey, it's saved me so many times that people are like, well, Kyle, you told us not to go to, you're right, I did. Thank you very much for checking it out. Thank you very much for paying attention. So anyway, number three is go over the do's and don'ts. That's a big one for me. It just makes my life so much easier at the end of the day. So that's number three. Number four, this is probably one of my biggest ones that I don't know if I want to say enjoy it, but it's one of the things that has saved my ass so many times throughout the process. Going over your numbers. You're right, you're not a lender, you're not somebody that's going to be giving them the money or anything along those lines, but here's the deal. They look to you as the professional. They look to you to make sure that one. Now, I want to be very clear on this one is when you go over these numbers, make sure that they understand it is an estimate. The lender and the bank, whoever is going to be giving them the money, they're the ones going to be giving them those actual numbers, the true numbers. But having a pretty darn good idea of what they're going into before they make an offer. I don't know how many times, thankfully, I've not had this happen to me because I tried from the very beginning of my career. I've really tried to make sure that my buyers know, but that they know the cost, what it costs to buy a house. Even today, I still have people that don't understand that you can't just go buy a house 100% no money down. There are ways to do it. Yes, I know some of you are gonna be like, well, no, I could do a VA loan. Yes, you can, that's fair. But a normal 5% down, 3% down first-time home buyer, they can't do that. There's going to be closing costs. You're gonna have, and in my market, it's $4,000 to $5,000 in closing costs. People don't plan for that, especially first-time home buyers. They don't plan to have that. They don't have a home that they're selling that they just made $100,000 on. They're moving out of their apartment to start their family, to start their new life in a new home and everything along those lines. So making sure that you go over those costs and then the potential of what those payments are, people want to know that. So you should know that as an agent. Pay attention to what it is that you're looking at and pay attention to what it is that they want to see and have that opportunity there. Now again, I want to be very crystal clear in this is that make sure they know that it's not the final numbers. Make sure they know that these are not what to expect. Make sure that they know that lender has the final say with interest rates and all of that kind of stuff. Make sure that you have those assumptions out there. And if you need to, or if you need to make it right, I use an Excel sheet. I use an Excel sheet that I've used for literally my entire career. And what I do with that is I want to make sure that they go over line by line. Hey, expect this, an appraisal, expect registration taxes, expect origination fee, expect transaction and audit fees, expect these fees and these fees and these fees. Now, at the end of it, just literally go to them and say, now here's the thing. most times I can get this negotiated and get it paid for by the seller side of things. But in the case that I don't, I want to make sure that you know that there's a potential above and beyond what your actual down payment is, that potential of that payment coming out of there, that you expect that. So that's a big one, guys. I would tell you going over those costs has saved so many headaches and so many issues along the way that people don't even, when I don't go over it, I have so many questions and so many headaches and so many issues of everything right at the end of it, because everybody's like, well, what's this? How come I didn't know about this? How come I didn't know about this? Because you as the agent didn't go over it. That's why. That's why you didn't know about the origination fee. That's why you didn't know about the extra closing costs. That's why you didn't know how to set up escrow fees and things like that. That's you, that's your fault as the agent. So fix it. That's not a bad thing. It's just being able to fix it, making sure that you're changing those things and doing that stuff differently. So it's just the way we look at it and the way we do things is to make sure that it is better for us and for them as the clients. It makes things go so much smoother at the end of the day and making sure that we have it good and taken care of. Number 5 on our list, look at the MLS. You're there, you're with them in front of a computer, more than likely. I know at my office, I literally have a dining room table and a computer hanging on the wall, and I go through all of that stuff. So by the time that they get to you, they've already looked and probably favored at least 3 or 4 different houses. So run those numbers. If they're on a tight budget, if their numbers are only, can only afford $1,500, only can afford $2,000 or $8,000, whatever that number is, go over those. Look at that house, look at 123 Main Street and say, okay, here's the real numbers. If in this market, more than likely, you're not going to get a deal off the asking price. So if we go in at this price and we go in at these numbers, this is what we're looking at. And you just go through the numbers. Look at your closing costs, look at your escrow, look at your taxes, look at your insurance, look at your payment. Give those numbers. And here's the thing I'll tell you guys, when I build these out, when I built this form out, what I always did is I went and talked to one of my lenders. I said, hey, this is what I'm looking at, this is what I'm thinking, kind of play with these numbers, are you good with these? And they're like, yeah, these are perfect, these are pretty average what it is. And I usually check it, I spot check it every now and again so that they know an appraisal costs X amount, because I think appraisals have gone up over the last couple of years for me. But go through an MLS and run those true numbers. Look at what that house on 123 Main Street, what it actually is gonna cost them, and then read them. Here's the thing, if they say, oh, well, that's not that bad, well, then you can actually go in and show them like, hey, once you look at this stuff, this is what you can kind of expect. Here, if we do this scenario, if we buy this house or we go this way, you can get a little bit more housing, more stuff that way. That's what I do, at least in my neighborhood or in my town, because what you've got is you've got a special taxes and everything else involved there. So that's a big one, because special taxes and taxes, those are additionals. If you have questions on it, it's annoying as hell, but it is what it is. Just call me or text me and ask about that one if you do have questions. But here's what I'll tell you though, is that knowing that and going over those numbers with them, you're gonna make things so much easier. And then they're gonna know like, oh, that's way higher than I anticipated. We need to adjust our search. Now you're not looking at $500,000 houses when you can only afford 200. Okay, it's all setting yourself up and setting your way up for how you go out and look at houses and take care of buyers. Okay, controlling the process. Controlling the process is so incredibly important. When I first started in the business, it was one of those things where I literally was like, you wanna look at a house? Sure, let's go. You wanna look at a house? Sure, let's go. What about you? You wanna go too? Sure. No, please don't. Guys, going out and making sure that they are qualified, able buyers and wanting buyers. Wanting buyers is a big one. You get so many looky-loos and so many people that are just like, that house looks cool, I wanna go look at it. No, when you get busy, you're not gonna be able to do that. So make sure that you qualify your buyers, making sure that you are taking good control of the scenario and what that looks like for you and your clientele. Number 6, write it down. Write it down. I don't care what it is. If you think it's important, even if it's not important, even if it's a minuscule detail, write it down. It is so incredibly important to making sure that you know what is going on in that buyer's life, okay? I don't care if you're driving or whatever, have a notepad, whatever it is, write it down, put it on Google Sheets. It is on everybody's phone, everything along those lines, write it down. Because when you go up to that buyer, like I said earlier, if you go up to that buyer and like, hey, I know last week you were having some issues with your family, something along those lines, they're gonna be like, holy shit, this person actually cares about me, and they're not just caring about the dollars at the end of the day. They want to know that they are connecting. Because at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. How do you get to know, like, and trust someone? You ask them questions. You talk to them. You create a relationship with them. Ask them about their family. Ask them about their kids. Ask them about the wife, the husband, whatever it is. Create that bond with them. And don't ask for something right away. Create that bond. So when you write that down and you just, hey, so-and-so, I was just calling to check up and see how things are going. That phone call right there is so powerful. As long as you don't ask for something. Don't call and don't immediately go in and start asking for things. Buyers are gonna be so incredibly turned off by that if you go in and it's like, hey, you ready to buy? 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 I've got clients right now that have taken 6 months to a year to actually find something or actually get into stuff. And I don't care, because I'm building that relationship, and those are the clients that I still, 7 years later in the business, those are the clients that I still do business with. The repeats, everything. And then after you close, continue to talk to them, continue to have that. Put it in your CRM, put it in a notepad, whatever it is that works for you and your system, put it in there. Because it's gonna be so incredibly important for you as a buyer's agent to make sure you have those details. Because here's the thing, those buyers, they're gonna wanna sell one day. They're gonna call you, or they're gonna call the person down the street. I know damn well I'm gonna try and make them call me. Just a thought. Number 7. This one is probably very minute or very small thing for me, or for a lot of agents. People are like, oh, okay, who cares? We don't really do anything. Being present at your closing. I know there's gonna be a lot of you like, no, why would I go to closing? I just got out of it with COVID, and I just got out of it with everything else that way. I don't wanna do that. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had buyers tell me, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Because here's the thing, especially with first-time home buyers, they have no clue what's going on. This is old hat for you. Hopefully it's old hat for you. These buyers have no clue what's going on. They don't know if they should sign. They don't know what they should do. They don't know. They're lost. I know when I bought my first house, I like my realtor. I would still consider him a friend today. Obviously don't use him for obvious reasons, but he didn't show up. I was there, I was at the closing table, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm supposed to go in here. Didn't show. This is a perfect time for you to really solidify that relationship with them moving forward, because why are they gonna refer people to you? Because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. They trust that you're gonna be there for them before and after. They trust that you're gonna be there to help them and make sure to answer any questions or anything that way. You know, I don't do anything crazy at the closing. I show up, I sit there, I throw in a couple one-liners every now and again, and when we leave. And I mean, at tops, it's an hour out of your day for you to make thousands of dollars. I think I can handle it. You've got them there. Why would you get them to this close to the finish line and just be like, yeah, you can finish, I'm out. No, be there. It was the worst thing ever with COVID and everything that way, because I couldn't be there. I just felt like it felt wrong. So I would tell you that my number 7 is being present at the closings. It's a very simple thing to do. Show up with gifts, show up with gift cards, show up with presents, show up with pictures and sold pictures, and have fun. They're there, they're buying a house, enjoy the process. So make sure you enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that little bell so you get notified of any future content. And give us that like, because it helps us out with our channel. I'll also tell you, if you have any questions or if you have anything that you want to add to this video or anything like that, give me a call. Give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever we need to. I've had 7 years in the business. I've sold over 330 plus homes, bought and invested in many others. I would love to hear your guys' experience. Go ahead and put them in the comments. See if you would add anything in that way, so that way we can kind of get some things going. And if there's another video you're interested in, give me a call. I live in a small town, I love my town, but here's the thing about it is that buyers are the same in Manhattan, Kansas as they are in Manhattan, New York. It's just a different scale of what it is. but I've had over 330 sales. I've pretty much seen most of it. I've even got some dirty ones right now where I've got squatters in houses, and I've got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. So if you have anything you're interested in, go ahead and reach out. Put in the comments, we'll get it taken care of. Have a good day.